Well, let's walk through the Potager garden. It looks like we're about 3/4 of the way through with it. We see the finish line, but we still got some things to do. We still got some more decisions to make. But I want to show you guys today what progress we've made, what materials we settled in on, so they can help you if you decide to put in the garden. Also, we use this as a trial garden. We got some kind of unusual things growing out here. We still got some finishing up touches to do, but it's coming along. Now the raised beds we decided on is a little bit out of the ordinary. And we're going to put a link up to where we got these things from, Hopkins Homestead. I did a good bit of research because, man, there's so many options out there on raised beds, but I ended up going with these right here. This is 22 gauge metal, which is heavy, heavy duty. And these things are made right here in the USA. I wanted something that's going to last. I wanted something that wasn't going to be real hard to put together. And I wanted something that's going to look nice. So we settled in on this after doing a lot of research. There was a lot of options out there. Now, let me be the first to say, this is not going to be the cheapest option. In fact, it's probably going to be one of the more expensive options out there. This is 22 gauge metal here. I have no doubt these things are probably going to last 30 to 40 years. They'll outlive me. And that's what I was trying to do, is create something that we wouldn't have to go back in 10, 15, 20 years and redo. Now we opted to go with the wood kit on top. You don't have to put this wood kit on top. You can just simply let the top of the raised bed come out there. It looks fine. But we opted to go with that because we wanted a little area we could place things, maybe sit. So we did the pressure treated wood kit on top. It's a little extra kit that you buy. And then what comes with that is these caps. Now I really like these caps because these caps cover up your edges there. And most of the time, that's where water gets into your wood. So that's going to help preserve our wood a lot. And also, it looks kind of nice too. Now, there's all kind of options or things you can do with these raised beds. You can put them together, as we see right here. We put 3 of them together to make one long line. They make a stacking kit so that you can stack them on up. We decided not to go with that. But you can do pretty much whatever your imagination desires on these raised beds. When we laid off the garden here, we knew we wanted everything pretty symmetrical. And what I did was got out here and we drew off some lines so we had everything the same distance apart. Another thing I did from my past experience of putting raised beds in is I made sure each one of them was level. Now they're not level with the other one because we had to go with the fall of the land here. But each one of these tops is level, and we worked our way through the land the way it falls, so that they all may be staggered at different heights, but they are level. And you know, that's real pleasing to the eye when you see that. I think that's something that it was a lot of work, but I think it's something that we're going to appreciate that we did in the end, because it looks so much better than just have them out there, you know, just stuck out there. So it took a lot of time, a lot of shovel work, getting these things in, getting them straight where we wanted that in line, and getting each one of them leveled. Right behind the raised beds, we put some of these stone beds in. And this was actually my idea for the whole garden to start with, but I got overruled on the raised beds there. So we ended up doing the raised beds up front, and then we ended up doing these stone beds in the back. Now I really like the way these things turned out. These are some stone I bought from the local stone yard. You can see the size of them there. And then I got some regular pea gravel there. The pea gravel works good because you kind of use it as a filler in here as you lay in these stones in here to kind of keep everything settled in. Now, we did an outline of the beds back here, put several of these stone beds in, and Mama Hoss laid each one of these stones. I didn't lay the first one. She laid every one of them, and she got them like she liked them. And I think she turned out, she turned out real good doing them. She did a little research on YouTube of how to lay the stone. She's never done it before. She did a heck of a job. All right, so this is the focal point of her garden here. She's got a water fountain there. We got the hook up. It's got some solar lights on there. She did the stone around there. This turned out really nice too. And this is going to kind of be what the focal point is as you walk through. We got a fence to go up front there, a wrought iron fence that we're going to put up there. You walk through the gate, walk down through the center of the garden, and then you got this focal area right here. It turned out pretty nice. To be honest with you, if it was me doing it, I probably would have skipped this, but hey, it did turn out really nice. So you can see she took the rocks there and laid out the borders of the back bed here. Now this is the backdrop of the garden here, and I chose tea olives right here And the reason I chose tea olives is because they do really good in our area. Don't have to prune them much, and we want a screen on the backside to kind of block everything off and to create a boundary. And these things are going to grow pretty quick. They have a nice fragrance to them when they bloom. Just low maintenance, disease-free plants that do well in our areas. So, you know, when you're looking for these type things here, I always look for things that grow well in my area, and I don't have to worry about disease. I don't have to about babying them a lot, because they got a purpose. We're going to use them as a screen. We don't want nothing that's got a lot of maintenance to it. Well, this is something that I definitely wouldn't have done, but she wanted it and we got her done. So this is a little sitting area right here. And you know, with a potager garden, when we started this whole thing, we realized what a potager meant. It's designed, it's supposed to be nice, appeasing to the eye, but yet functional. Well, me as a guy, I just think functional, okay? I want everything to have a good purpose for it. If it doesn't, then I don't have a whole lot of interest in doing it. But she talked me into this. We ended up doing it, and this nice little sitting area here, and she's got it all decorated out. She put her touches on the garden with this right here. So it's one of them things that we negotiated out, because I definitely wasn't for it. But the whole thing about this garden here is, if you ever build a house, you know how you can struggle with that, because one person's got an idea of what they want, and the other person's got another idea, and you just kind of have to work through some things and come together with it. That's exactly what we had to do here. We had to work through a lot of things as far as purpose of the garden, how the layout was, how big it is. When we first laid this garden out, it was way bigger than what I thought it should be. But you know, in hindsight, I think it turned out about right. I'm glad I took her advice or her lead on how big to make the garden. I was wanting it smaller and more compacted there. She's going to have bigger walkways than what I'd originally wanted, but you know what? I think it's really going to turn out nice. I like the way the stones did. I like the way the design is. And sometimes as you put these things in, you're going to make changes on the fly. So you have this master plan to start with. When you get out there and you start putting it in, you're going to see some things you want to change. And to be able to do that's what makes it all come together. On this side of the garden, it's going to be more of the fruit tree or fruit aspect of it. We put in some grapevines, muscadine vines of the day. Later today, my project is to put another row in here of trellis, because I'm going to put some sweetie pie blackberries in. These sweetie pies I grew out in the greenhouse here. It's one of the sweetest blackberries, thornless of course. We're going to put a trellis up here and put a row of these in here. And on up there, we're going to have some other fruit trees. On the back side of that back there, we got some wildflowers, some pollinator friendly plants, and I got one or two more things I want to plant back there as well. My whole idea about this garden was to have an area that we could trial plants, grow out some new things that we hadn't grown before, see how they do here in the South, to give you guys more information on how to grow particular things. So what we got right here is a new acorn squash called Goldilocks that we're trialing out to see if we like for next year. This is a golden color, a yellow acorn squash. Probably hadn't seen nothing like that before. And we're going to see how it grows out there. Very well be one we offer next year. And here's something that we've never tried before, is growing peanuts. This is wind peanuts in a raised bed. Wasn't my idea, but I think it's a good one. And if you got raised beds, you're always struggling for what you can grow in your raised beds. So we're trialing out to see how these peanuts do in the raised beds. Here we got some coneflowers, which is a new medicinal herb right here that we're selling for this year. We got some of these growing. And this is a plant right here that I absolutely just fell in love with. I found this at an All-American trial up in Des Moines, Iowa. It's called a toothache plant. So we're offering this now. We've had a heck of a time sourcing it. We have to get it from overseas, and getting it brought into the United States with all the proper permits and everything has been a nightmare. But it's a very unique plant, and if you chew this leaf up, it makes your mouth numb. So it actually numbs that part of your mouth. And back in the day, they used to use this right here for a home remedy for toothaches, because it actually just numbs it up. Very interesting to try this right here. And it's pretty. It's got those nice yellow blooms to it as well. You know, this is something else here I hadn't grown in a long time, but lends itself really well to a raised bed. This is a soybean, but more specifically, it's called edamame. And you know, you probably had it before, eating it as a snack there. The pods there are trying to fill out, so we'll have a good harvest in a few days. Probably been 6-7 years since I've grown edamame. You know, a wonderful plant to grow in a raised bed there. We got baby ginger that we're trialing out right here. Ginger's something that we've looked at for a while, trying to figure out how to best grow it, how it does best here in the South. And we got a zinnia here that we're trialing out, a new variety of zinnia right there. We also, on the other side over here, we got some turmeric. Turmeric is something that we started growing this last year, once we figured out all the wonderful health benefits from it. So we're growing these turmeric in these raised beds to see how it does. This bed here, we're going to put something else in. We got some herbs growing here. Just all kind of unique stuff, and we still got other things to plant. What we've got left to do is to still run our irrigation. Now I've got the tubing run to each one of the beds. I run them up through there as I put the beds in, and the beds actually already have the irrigation tubing in there. I use this drip tubing that we sell that's got the emitters every 6 inches here. This is the solid tubing, and this is what I run out. So what we'll do in the next few days is run some main lines out here, and we're going to connect all the irrigation together. Another thing we've got to decide on is what we're going to put down here in the walkways. I've really struggled on what to use with the walkways here. You know, we could use pine straw, which would probably be the most readily available, but it would have to be replenished a lot. I want something that's going to last, something that I don't have to do a lot to. I definitely don't want to use the weed fabric or anything, because that's just going to act as a slide for any kind of rocks or anything we put down there, and that's just going to be a nightmare. So the weed fabric is out. What kind of material do I want to use on these walkways? If you notice, we got a good bit of slope here, so I got to be concerned about washing. These little small pea gravel right here would work well, but on this much slope, I have an idea they would wash pretty bad. So I went to the rock yard and looked around, and I found one of these pea gravels that was a lot bigger, about this size. And I'm gonna get some of those and trial those, do me a little area in here and see how these hold up. I think a rock would work fine in here. I just don't want to get too big of a rock. I want something that's gonna be easy to walk on. I don't want it to wash, and I want to be able to stay in place. So if you have any ideas or suggestions of what we can use in here, heck, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think there. Because there again, I am really struggling with these, with the walkway material here. We've hired a fence contractor to come in and put us up one of those fancy wrought iron fences up here, and our gate's gonna go right here. It's probably gonna be a couple of weeks before he gets in there to do that. And probably the last thing we want to do is put a little garden shed here. We want to put a garden shed so we can store our garden tools and everything like that and have them close to the garden. So there you have it. That's where we're at on our potager garden. It's been kind of a trialing thing, but it's been fun. So if you have a desire to put one in, hey, take it slow, work through your issues there, and make something that works for you, because the same thing works for everybody.